Okay, welcome everyone. Today is, welcome to the Plastow Planning Board meeting on what is Wednesday, March 1st, 2023. With that, we'll do a roll call.
Yep, Tom Alberti.
Here.
Tim Moore.
Here.
Laura Millette.
Here.
Karen Robinson.
Here.
Richard Anthony.
Here.
Bill Coy.
Here.
Jen Roden.
Rowden.
But here.
Wow.
See?
Another
I'm
name.
not going to do it.
This one should be easier than the last one.
Ow. I'm going to put.
Awesome. And then we'll have to get Miss Rowden her own, she's got Sarah. Charlie, can you say Sarah's last name for just one more time?
I'm sorry?
That's Sarah's name tag is
Yeah.
there. What's her last name?
I'm not telling you.
All right. So with that in mind, we're going to go over and do the minutes, and then I quickly want to introduce Jen Rowden, and then we also have some members of some chambers of commerce and some economic groups, so that's awesome, and we're going to talk about that stuff. So anybody have a question about the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve as written.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? All right, motion passes 5-0. And like I said, I just want to quickly introduce Jen, and Jen is taking over for Sarah Tatarzik, right? I think I got that kind of right. But can you just give us a quick discussion about yourself? And
Sure. So I'm Jen Rowden. I'm the Land Use Program Manager at Rockingham Planning Commission. I've been with the commission for about 10 years, and I'm going to be filling in as your circuit rider for the foreseeable future. I also do circuit riding for 2 other communities currently. That's Newton, New Hampshire, and then also Northampton. So I'm familiar with some of the going-ons in Plastow, but I look forward to getting to know Plastow a little bit more. I haven't had a chance to work with you guys much, so
awesome.
forward to it.
And Jen, you had mentioned, I know that I think we've extended our contract for the year. Is that correct? Financially,
Yeah, that's what Sarah
everything's
said.
good to go. Yeah. And you mentioned, do you believe you'll be our 2023 circuit rider, or just for the foreseeable?
I will at least be through June.
Okay.
That's sort of our tentative plan. We are actually at the RPC looking to hire a new position. So depending on who that is, I may still be your circuit rider, or we may switch it over, but we'll give you ample notice, maybe a little bit more than we had for this transition. So,
Okay, great.
But in either case, I'll actually be supervising anyone that would be your circuit rider. So I
Excellent.
would still be involved.
And did Sarah bring you up to speed? I assume to some degree. You and I spoke a little bit, talked about sort of what we're up to. So
Yep, I'm fairly familiar with where you are and sort of your long-term planning, things with housing, economic development, and then some of the cases you have before you in the next couple of weeks. So
okay, great.
master plan. Yep.
Master plan, yep. So with that in mind, I don't know why I have energy committee stuff in front of me. Does someone have today's? Oh, is this my copy?
Yeah.
Great, thank you. We really didn't have anything else. The primary purpose, this is our workshop meeting, is to discuss the economic development survey. We have some guests. I'll just quickly go into sort of where we are. I spoke to some of you on the phone, but essentially, as we came out of 2021, we looked at our master plan early in the year. We said, well, what do we want to look at? What do we want to focus on? And what are some of the things that the community's engaged with us personally? So we started talking about looking at economic development. Why do businesses come to Plastow? What are they looking for? How do we, as a planning board and also the owners of the master plan, drive economic development in the community? Can we influence economic development into a manner that we think is positive for the environment, or excuse me, for the community and the environment? So we said, well, let's engage the community. We kind of think we know what the community wants out of this town. We hear enough about people talking to us, why do we have this? Why do we have that? You read social media. But we said, well, let's put pen to paper. So we were fortunate to engage the RPC. Sarah was awesome. She put together with some RPC resources a nice survey for us. We engaged the community. And we basically, again, there wasn't anything earth-shattering with the information that we received, but it reinforces the things that we've been talking about. And that's going to be the basis for which we decide how we want to influence the master plan. And then the idea is at the end of this year, can we introduce zoning amendments that are positive, that basically help us and the community achieve the goals that we set forth. So, and that's where we're at. Jen, I don't know if, are we going to be able to pull up the results of the master plan?
I'm not going
Excuse
to be
me,
able to.
Economic development survey?
I'm not going to be able to project them. I don't have my
Okay.
computer set up for that, but I
Are
certainly.
you able to speak to it to some degree?
I can generally.
Okay.
Yes.
So what I thought we would do is we would quickly, there's the major portion of the economic development survey, and we had 251 respondents, I believe, which is okay. We had about 10,000 responses all said and done. We had some things about infrastructure and housing, but we don't have to address that this evening unless they're pertinent to economic development. So with members of Greater Salem Chamber of Commerce and Plaistow Area Commerce Exchange, I think we can focus that. And I think the goal is that we're going to get some feedback from you about what you're doing, how we want to get the input from you about businesses and what they're looking at from the community as well, and not just the residents who live here. So that's it. So if you don't mind diving in, and then we'll sort of put you guys up on the stage, and please speak anything you want to tell us about what you're doing and how we can engage each other.
So just to back up real quick, Plaistow updated their master plan in 2018. It spoke to economic development, but not really strongly. Hence why I think you guys initially wanted to do this economic development survey. Was out for about 3 months. Had a total of a little over 250 people that responded to it. Really good diversity of folks. The main thing that people cited that they really wanted was increased variety of business. So I think probably hearing what businesses are you seeing probably drawn to this area or that are looking to come? Because I think there's a what do the residents want and what do the businesses want? I think there's probably a really happy overlap there, but getting to that I think is really the big question. So what can the town, as part of its master planning for its community goals, not just economic, how can those jive? So I know that's a really quick summary, but I think that's the main idea.
Yeah, I think that covers it. Any other input from any other board members? Yes, Karen?
We do have two development areas on the 125. You have C1 and you have C3. And a lot of businesses that are on C1 are your usual big superstores, all those, and pretty much the busy business is all in there. And we were looking for, like you said, variety. So C3 was formed, which is from up at Main Street, goes right up to 125. It's from there to the state line for county line to Kingston town line there. So on that, we were looking, and in the survey was also asked, they were looking for different types businesses, not so much the box stores, superstores, big businesses coming in, or repeats like tire stores and garages and storage. We have plenty of those. So the point was, we want to know, how do we encourage, how do we get other businesses, the variety to come in, even restaurants, anything, on C3 especially. That's where the land is right now. But there are empty spaces also on the regular malls, on the ones on C1. So that's basically what I was hoping to get some information on.
Perfect. Thank you, Karen. So, yeah, Jen, do we want to speak to any of the specific results, right? So within this, we asked questions on a scale, right? Very satisfied, or favorable, unfavorable, that type of stuff. But again, some of the resounding responses, and the survey, I believe, is available online.
The results will
The
still be
results
available.
are. And is that on the Plaistow?
It's on the Plaistow Planning Board website, and
Okay.
the summary is
And,
also
and
on
I
the
apologize. I
website.
should have sent that to you guys. I should have at least sent you the link. Feel free to look at it. We could go into the findings. We generally heard from people that they want, just like Karen said, can we have more diversity of businesses? Can we get, when you go online and someone says, oh, I see that something's happening in this plot of land, people start saying, "Oh, I want Chick-fil-A, I want a IKEA or a this kind of store, entertainment, right?" And then people are all disappointed when it's another storage unit. But we know we're Plastow, we know we're a border town, we know why tire stores and other types of specific businesses are drawn to this. It's geographic, it's vehicle trips. Some people we went from 0 to 3 healthcare centers, urgent cares and various types. Some people voice some displeasure about that, but you know what? I think there's a community need. And frankly, it's hard to get healthcare and people that sometimes are saying, "Hey, I can't even get an appointment." So, but they feel like at least this is the right level or the right quantity. Any other specific things that people thought would be good to share with our guests about? Certainly people want more restaurants, more entertainment, and less of like Karen said, the big box stores, less traffic that's generated by big box stores and some of those types of things.
Even private offices, like wouldn't hurt to have some doctor offices, wouldn't hurt to have some lawyers, wouldn't hurt to have some counselors. It wouldn't hurt to have, services that are actually serving the local as well. I mean, any of that. There was a new bakery that just went in Kingston up there. She was looking for space. Simple little things. You could even have a little mall, but have just individual businesses maybe. What would match? What are they looking for? If we have the land, would they be interested?
Now, our community, we used to have a part-time town planner staff, and now we have the RPC that's supporting us. The RPC's been a very positive thing for us since we put that into place, but we don't have anybody that's out there marketing the community, right? Nobody's reaching out and saying, "Hey, we'd like your business to come here." So it's really people looking at what our zoning is and saying, "Does this work?" They're looking at the vehicle trips and any other data that they get and saying, "Is this the type of community we want to be in?" And so we're sort of really at the mercy of what wants to come here versus us. There's really nobody engaging businesses to try to bring them in that maybe we think are the right types of businesses. So with that in mind, I welcome the opportunity. Like I said, we have 2 members here. I figure we could have one big discussion. I think what we're looking for you is any information you have about what businesses are doing, right? We know certain types of businesses are moving away from brick and mortar, and yet others probably are moving into brick and mortar. And we'd like to hear your thoughts on that. What are the things that you as organizations hear from your businesses that help? Like, what are they looking for out of communities? That kind of thing. So if someone wants to jump up and introduce themselves and talk about their organization, don't want to put you on the spot.
You need the mic, right?
Yeah, please.
We
I'm
are
from
on
the small town next door, so I'm familiar with the town
Awesome.
meeting format. Yes. So I'm Ashley Hazeltine. I am the executive director for the Greater Salem Chamber of Commerce. And to introduce, for those of you in the room behind me, in the peach is Cindy Woodbury. She is our membership director at the chamber. In the suit is Erin Daly. She is our chair of our board of directors. And then Mary Lovell is the representative from the Plastow Area Commerce Exchange, who we also work together with as well. So I think a lot of the things that we're seeing from businesses and from communities echo. I peeked at the master plan survey results a little bit online. They're very similar. And I think one of the big components of it with anybody that's a border community and has that small town feel, nobody wants it to feel like it's a big 28 in Salem. You don't want to feel like you're popping into the massive shopping complex. And I live in East Hampstead. I come through 125 all the time to get to 495, and I don't drive it on Saturday mornings because of the traffic. So I think with those elements in mind, there's a couple different ways to go about it. Some plots of land that are essentially ready for a plan. There's some good types of businesses that would already fit. There are certainly ways that we as a chamber or any other organization can kind of help spread the word that that's available. There's also some great developers in the area that are looking for building those smaller plazas. If you're familiar with the 111 stretch, across the street, it's sort of the Salem Dairy line where LaBelle Winery is. Across the street, there's a plaza with like a Dunkin' Donuts, and then something like that. They're local developers. So something like that, or like what Prime Butcher is in Hampstead and the Beantown Plaza there, something like that. So I think part of it could be targeting those types of developers that builds those smaller ones out as well, and saying, here's some plots of land we have that would work. I think are ways that you could go about that. As a Chamber of Commerce, as a region, I know a couple of us have talked to a couple of you here on the board. We have several committees that look at different topics, and one of them is economic development. So one of the ways that we function and support the towns is that Economic Development Committee can review what are we hearing from businesses? What are we missing from businesses? Workforce housing is one of the biggest pieces that we're hearing, and that we as a chamber and that other chambers throughout the state are advocacy organizations as well that were up at the State House in Concord supporting or opposing legislation. And that's one that we're really mobilizing on throughout the state. Another one is the childcare issues, because when you have people and you want them to work, if they have children, they need their children to be somewhere safe. So starting to look at creative solutions around that. We don't have the answer to all of those problems. We're not childcare experts, but can we encourage some funding to support that, or some extra initiatives and things like that too?
I don't mean to interrupt, but so when you say that, are these the types of things that business owners are saying, these are our issues to run our businesses, is getting employees and getting employees that can then, if the workers are there, then they need childcare, and
Yes.
these are why we don't have enough workers here.
The biggest challenges we've heard, it's workforce, but then digging in deeper, it's the adequate workforce. And if they're finding somebody to hire, it's they can't find a place close enough to live that they can afford with the new job offer, or they have the job offer and they can't line up childcare that is reasonable cost. So people are having to turn down job offers because of those pieces. That's a big piece. And then the cost of essentially all your basic utilities, electricity, for restaurants in particular, access to natural gas or some type of line is preferred for the bigger restaurants. They just rely on so many. Doing a tank model is really hard for them. But so access to water, access to sewer, all of those pieces. So even if that's a longer term, using the RPC and some state funding to pursue, I know some water is coming in this direction, but those pieces, especially restaurants, are looking for that steady access. They can't rely on a well in the backyard for even a 30-seat restaurant. So
Yeah, we've got water access to the primary commercial districts, and obviously residential as well, but we don't have sewer.
right.
And that's probably not coming anytime soon, if ever. I mean,
That's something like Chick-fil-A would not do that if it was a drive-in. They would not be able to do us then on.
I'm not sure. And so for a specific business, so when we get the information, it's typically we're hearing it from the developer that's working. Okay, they've got a plot of land they're building. Of course, they're turning a profit, right? So they look at a plot of land and they say, okay, great, I want to put in a restaurant, a dry cleaner, and an attorney's office or something like that. And so then as they're talking to people and they're laying out the options, I do know sewer is something that's being looked at the state level. I don't know the current, but I know that's at least reached the state level awareness, if you will, as water did about 10 years ago.
Jen, do you know anything about that?
I do know it's being studied more and more. I mean, the reality of it being in Plaistow in the next 5 to 10 years is probably small.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's never coming, but in the near future, it's probably not likely.
Okay, then how come the clam place is in there? And how come we do have other restaurants? Pizza place is in there.
Well,
I think
and
it's
so
got the seats, right?
right, and it's not a hard yes or no. It's a business per business decision. But so, for instance, if you wanted something like a Capital Grill or a larger restaurant, the person making the decision is looking at a spreadsheet of numbers, right? There's somebody on their staff that sources out potential sites. And by the time it gets to them, it's just a spreadsheet with numbers. So it check marks, but it doesn't mean that there aren't local restaurateurs that are going to open and going to operate.
In terms of economic development, I'm just mentioning it because I think if it isn't mentioned, it gets forgotten. So, but sewage, we do abut Haverhill, and there's always been sort of anecdotal conversations about, have Haverhill having capacity and things like that. And just, from that anecdotal part of it, they have capacity to what does a conversation look like to engage the right people and maybe even uncover resources that we don't know anything about. Like if someone were to say that, hey, there's a grant for 1,000 feet of sewer extension that can be done for a border community somewhere.
Sure. I would say that conversation, it would be a combination between Regional Planning Commission. Chambers can help write letters for grant applications. I've done it in my time working for a Chamber of Commerce. And then the state senator. The state senators are typically the people that can really get those conversations going, and because they'll call the state senator across the border and say, hey, we've got a community that wants to start this conversation and get it going.
In a general sense, I'll sort of feed off that. Is there anything that your organizations have been engaging our government on in particular? Is it workforce housing? Is it that type of stuff?
Yes. So our organization actually had our Concord Update event in January. So that's an event that we host at the beginning of the session every year. We have our state senators as our featured speakers for the towns that we officially cover. And then we invite all of the state representatives as well. And most of that conversation revolves around workforce housing, cost of electricity, and just those general, okay, are there extra relief programs coming? Not necessarily relief programs in the same sense that they were a year ago or 2 years ago, but more of just, are there development grants? Are there opportunities for maybe, the PFAS is becoming more and more common. Are there grants available that if you have a site that once it has a cleanup, it's open for development, getting some more grant funding to be able to access, and then looking at overlaying TIF districts, which enable a federal tax incentive for developers. So to redevelop older properties as well. So if you have something that's been sitting vacant or really run down, if you could overlay that district, it incentivizes developers to come in and redevelop. And if it's something that you can work with them on, you can do a mixed use development. Another big piece that's been a focus lately is sort of micro housing units. If you think about anywhere on the seacoast in New Hampshire, Maine, those little cottages that you see walking distance to the beach, and there'll be like 5 of them, and they share a parking area. There's actually been a shift of putting those in as full-time year-round cottages as a solution for workforce housing. So you might be 2 hours inland, but you'll see a cottage cluster, and it's something that becomes affordable for somebody to live that might not be looking for an apartment necessarily.
No, that's an interesting angle, right? So we're thinking about what can we do to put in amendments towards our particular commercial districts. But, I think that you introduced the idea that we should also consider all of our community, and I think we would anyways, but what is it that we can do to make the entire community more attractive, and sort of work more in harmony with the businesses? And so the springboard to this project is a housing project. Mm-hmm. And as we wrap up this year with some potential zoning amendments, we're going to start to introduce a similar survey to the community about housing. And we actually touched on a few subjects within this report. It's exactly what you would expect. However, the feedback from the respondents was overwhelmingly, the reality is Plaistow doesn't have a ton of developable land for housing. There's some. So what is it that we can do? But most people say, hey, I want to keep it as is. I don't want to see duplexes. I don't want to see multifamilies. I want to see single family homes.
Is there something available? I guess I'm looking at it from the perspective of marketing the town or maximizing the town's resources that they have and such. So hypothetically, let's say you have a storefront that's vacant, business has moved out or there's a for sale sign or something like that. And being able to put it out there in sort of the wider community out, out beyond Plastow that, there is availability, there is rental opportunities and things like that. Is that something that, is that a
Sure.
strange idea that I'm saying?
So no, it's not a strange idea at all. So as a chamber of commerce, our chamber focuses on 5 different pillars. Of course, some of it's economic development and support. It's tie into the community. It's visibility for members, which includes municipalities too. And so, for instance, if there was, there's this storefront, it's a great opportunity for redevelopment, but nobody knows about it. We have one of the largest social media followings in the state for chambers. So we often will share posts out from members. Do you know that this is out there? And we'll spread it out that way. We send 2 email newsletters a week as well that we try to include information like that in. And then there's also just those informal connections that end up happening. You attend an event and you meet somebody and you just mention, we've got this great thing. And you didn't realize that the person you're talking to is neighbors to a developer or something like that. And just those natural connections that come into play. I think a lot of times too, I live in Hampstead. We have similar conversations all the time. We want more housing, but I want 2-acre lots with single family homes, but I don't want more kids in the school district either.
Yeah.
So we're going to find people that don't have kids to live in those homes. Seeing something like Main Street of overlaying a district that you could have something that's like first floor commerce, second floor apartments. Derry did something like that a few years ago that they were able to, it was that apartments only had to be on the 3rd floor in downtown, and they, through the amendment process, were able to bring it down to the 2nd story. So they did that for a big section, that the 1st floor is those small storefronts, the 1st story, and then now 2nd story and 3rd story are apartments.
Did you, just out of curiosity, did you know that Plastow introduced an overlay district like that 2 years ago?
No.
Did anybody know that?
No.
Okay. And we have 2 more microphones. If anybody wants to jump in the conversation, yeah, please. There's one over here. There's one here.
We can share up here. too.
I want to have an open dialogue. There's no format. We estimate we usually have 1,000 to 2,000 people that watch the live events in the town.
Pressure.
So don't get nervous about, maybe that's 1 to 2 people, but
Maybe over a 10-year period.
I did want to mention, I live in Danville. I'm in Plastow all the time. My son plays flag football, practices down the street, right down the street here. And the one thing the chamber brings, I work for a local bank. I'm involved I'm on the board of the Boys and Girls Club. I'm involved with the Y here. I've done my birthday classes at the Ninja course. You have a lot of great things here. And that's what I think the chamber brings to a town is the community. So when you get that community buzz, and we just had an event at Coliseum. And how many people did we have, Cindy? 70 maybe?
80?
Over, 80 people that came out for an event and a night. And when you have that buzz in town and you have that community and people getting together, people see that. And the developers see it. And outside people see it. And they're like, we want to get in this town and we want to be a part of that. We've had some pretty big developers come into Salem, and I think they feel that way. I do. I've seen it with the Boys and Girls Club. I've seen it with the chamber. I've been on the chamber board. This is my 2nd term. I termed off for 9 years and now I'm back. But we have that community feel, and these developers come in and they're like, we want to be a part of this community. We want to come in, and you have that all here in Plastow. You have the Y, you have the childcare, you have the fun, you have the doctors coming in. I go to the doctor down the street all the time. You have all that coming in. I think if you could the chamber could bring you that piece of the community and bring those businesses together and get those large events that people are looking at. Like, I want to bring my business here. I want to be involved in this, because now I see there are the clients out there, the customers. It will be busy. We will get traffic. So that's just the one thing I feel that we do bring. The events aren't always, based on economic development. We might just be sitting around and talking, but to Ashley's point, you never know who you're talking to. And they can mention it, and word spreads. We're a small community. I'm in Danville. We're all working together to build it. So I do think that's one thing that we bring to the towns. And, we've really grown Salem. We've really grown all the other small towns. And I enjoy living in this area, and I enjoy promoting it all. There's a lot of good things. And I'm actually a member of PACE too. So
Awesome.
I network with PACE as well.
Yeah, we've all known Mary for a very long time.
No, we are different than a chamber, and we're much smaller, and we've been around a long time. But the heartbeat of us is community. And I've been president for about 6 months. I've been vice president for like 2 years. The thing that our goals, we're working very hard. There's been a lot of upheaval with us, but we are now working to. I'm working with the towns to get communications and get the word out about who we are and what we do to help the community. And we do a number of things for the schools. I mean, other than a chamber is kind of different than we are a networking group that comes together, and we meet with businesses and community leaders and the schools, and our goal is to actually raise money to give back to the community for the schools. We just gave out money to the 7 towns nurses, kinds of things, and we do the scholarships. We do a lot of different things. So, but our goal right now is reforming that our website is going to be community based. So any news that is coming out from the 7 towns that we serve, that we want to get that out by either through our website or through community pages, to get to know what the heartbeat is of these communities. So we're kind of a work in progress right now. And but I've known Ashley a number of years. I was an ambassador with Dairy Chamber, and I've been with Pace a long time.
Small world.
So so I have full faith in what she does. She's on a whole nother level, but we're trying to climb up there. But our sole goal is to work with the towns and to have you communicate to us what you need and get the word out there so that we know how you can work more efficiently and better and bring in people and businesses that make what our towns are. So but we are gaining people, different businesses. I have a new person that again, we don't have these huge meetings. I mean, they're about 20 people, but he's starting his own business. He's been in the construction and architectural business for 30 years and starting his own business up here. So he's a good person I wanted to direct to you. So it's really the communications of what you need. We're getting to understand what people want. I mean, I've lived in Hampstead 38 years. So, and I'm back and forth, Plaistow all the time. But I know what I would want in this community. And, it's not always the big box stores. And it's, businesses in community, even with the residential area, because as you see on Facebook, that, rental, people trying to find places to live at an affordable level is just, incredible. And we work with a number of nonprofits to try to find housing, kind of thing, or just food and just all those kinds of things. So I think the community really needs to understand what will actually help it grow. I mean, in Hampstead, we're dealing with a lot of, over 55 communities right now. And what is happening is because of that, they're hoping so it doesn't impact the school system, but it could. I mean, those are things to actually have to consider. But so so I mean, the biggest thing that I can draw from you is to try to get you to communicate with us to what you need, and then we have about 115, members right now. It's growing every month. We put out press releases and everything else out there.
What,
Get the word out.
excuse me. What you said 7 communities?
The 7?
Yes.
So it's Plastow, Atkinson, Kingston, Hampstead, Newton, Sandown, Danville.
Excellent.
So, we do serve a number of communities.
Yeah, and I think in a nutshell, I sort of said it earlier, but engage the residents. What do they want? Engage the business and business membership organizations. Say, this is what we're doing. And then we try to, well, what can we do as a planning board? Now, we don't have a lot of arrows in our quiver, right, to go out and make these things happen, but we're like the Tinder, right? We're like, we want to bring you and you together. And how does it work as a good relationship? So, and at the end of the day, what can we do as a planning board? Well, we can change the zoning, or we can write amendments to promote certain types of things that can help, or we can try to engage organizations, like you said. But we can't do it all. We're volunteers. You're volunteers.
It's interesting. In Salem, we do have, like when you said, a mix of businesses. We have all these and it's little entertainment, and I think that's helping. And it's
Right.
We have these axe throwing coming in, and
Yeah.
R28s and the golf, and so it gets you away from that box store. So I think that's kind of what you want to bring down. I think it'd be great in this area, especially because you can hit that Hampstead, Danville, and get, we're going to Saddle Up Saloon on the weekend. You can get those areas and get those different businesses, so they're not the box stores. But
Yeah.
I think that's all about, creating the buzz in town and wanting to bring them in and have them come. But we do have a lot of different businesses, and Cindy can speak to that because she's our membership director, of those little stores that are really doing well.
Yes,
Yeah, I
really
mean,
well.
we have the axe throwing in Hampstead.
Yeah.
I mean, it is kind of the entertainment area that draws, that's kind of the initial draw. People go, oh, this is, you think of the Tupelo in Derry, it's not a big facility, but it draws in people. And there really is no entertainment here in the Plastow area,
It's the ninja course, and that's really good.
My
Jen, did
kids
you
also enjoy the ninja course.
Yeah, Jen, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, just one thing. You stated how the planning board has limited things it can do, and that's true. Your main task was really the zoning and dealing with site plans and subdivisions.
Yep.
But your other task is your master plan, and I know that this board knows about working on the master plan. That implementation section of whatever part of the master plan we're talking about, that's what helps get the different players to come together. It is literally your strategic plan for your community. And it doesn't mean the planning board is going to be doing all of the implementing, but it's getting the right people to the right table to then say, hey, this got identified as an action or a goal. Let's move towards that, and helping all the housing piece, the infrastructure piece, the community development piece come together, and also dealing with the protecting the environment and the other goals of Plastow.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, no, perfectly sums it up.
And I think it does come down to having individuals within the town community, at town government, that actually are very good in doing grants. I mean, in Hampstead, I know alone, our police department has had, one of our lieutenants is extremely good at it, and has been able to get, the police dog and a number of other things. But grants are out there, and also in getting, they're out there. The money's out there.
That's
But it is
great.
finding an individual that can do it,
Yeah.
and that is a challenge.
We had Jen's predecessor was brought to us a housing grant that we didn't necessarily know about. She wrote the application, and the town now has that grant. We've been awarded the grant, so that's going to be part of our housing initiative. So in terms of, hey, what are communities doing? If you want to share that with members, do you know other towns, Jen, that are doing it in this community? In this region?
Specifically for the housing grant,
Yeah, the
we're
HOP
working
grant.
with 6 other communities doing those housing grants. But some of the other topics that were brought up, we don't do a lot of brownfields, which is sort of that revamping of contaminated sites, but it's something our office has done. For water infrastructure, there's certainly the state clean water revolving fund that's out there. It's more of a loan grant system. I mean, there are grants. There are grants to do everything under the sun. No, but if you're strategic, there is money to help leverage the things that you're, I think, looking to do.
Also for your businesses, the one thing is the engagement between each other. Our members, 80% of them are more local mom and pop shops. And we started a home-based business membership two years ago, which has been very successful for someone that doesn't have a brick and mortar store. With that, we have found members working together and starting other businesses from there. And it's really kicked off really well for us. And they're not looking at each other as competitors. They're all connecting one another. So your balloon lady that works from home now is doing balloons for several of our different members.
Mm.
You know, the chocolatier that has a commercial kitchen is doing chocolates. You have a yoga instructor and someone that has 5 master's degrees now teaching classes to all chamber members, anyone that needs it, how to learn how to do their website, how to increase their Google ranking, and they're all Zoom so they can work it on their own schedule. And that's really about connecting them. So when a member joins our chamber, you know, I certainly sit with them and ask them what they need, what they're looking for. They know they can reach out to us for anything, and we can connect them with anyone. So we call ourselves our own version of Google for them. We can find what they need and help them through it. And we're not just trying to add a number to our chamber, we're trying to add a business that can connect with other people. The networking has been very successful, as Erin said, and we're always looking at finding some other different networking opportunity that will get everyone out. We won't hit everyone on every business before hours, business after hours, or lifestyle networking, but we're making that nice blend of people meeting each other. So for instance, in April, we're doing one on managing stress in the workplace. It's free to our members. A member is hosting it for us. We have 2 other therapists talking to the members for that day. So it's a win-win situation before they go.
So hypothetically, let's say like that, you have like an event of some kind. How would that be promulgated to, let's say, Plaistow? You know,
We would share it on social media. They
Okay.
would receive it on their Tuesday and Friday email briefs from us. Anytime I talk to anyone, I would be reminding them. We can also send standalone emails to them if we weren't really seeing high volume. But we would get the word out, and especially to the new members as they were joining. You know, come and meet, come and connect. We always say it's like a slice of pie. Whatever fits for you to have that slice of pie. It might not be the morning session, might not be the afternoon session. But we'll work around schedules to find something that will help you and connect you with other people.
And I think specifically too, thinking of Plaistow, and while we were sitting here, I'm thinking, okay, if we wanted to have sort of, and we work collaboratively with PACE too, so we've actually shared so that members can access each other's events, so a joint connection. But for instance, if we were to say something like, you know, we're really a regional chamber, so if we wanted to do, you know, a formal recognition of open for business in Plaistow, Pest and Exterminators is already an active member of our chamber. Some of their staff comes to a lot of our events. They're on our ambassadors committee. So just from sitting here, my brain went to, we could approach them, host some type of, you know, working in Plaistow, doing business in Plaistow event, networking event. They host, they take care of the food, they get to show off their business a little bit. And you have those districts, you have some of those land opportunities, get some big signs printed up and put them around, and have somebody from the planning board, have somebody from the town there to be able to talk about it. And you'll get people coming in and saying, oh, I didn't realize all this was in Plaistow. Because the people that are involved in the chamber that really enjoy going to those events, they'll go to the event wherever it is because they've been to an event before and they know when I show up, I'm going to make those right connections. I'm going to get what I'm looking for. And so then once they've come, we can move it all around the region. They'll end up coming and we promote it and advertise it, like Cindy said.
when you promote and advertise it, is it local, like media, like Eagle Tribune or something? Like,
Well, no, we would, you know, what happens is we do press releases into the Carriagetown News.
Okay.
Yeah.
And an extension to what, you know, this is kind of a new thing because knowing Ashley for years, and just collaborating together. It's a numbers game, really. The bigger the event and more people find the benefit of being able to interact with more people and more businesses or whatever, the more beneficial.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You want to, the idea of creating like a positive buzz of something about Plasthouse that, so that anecdotally, I mean, this is on the radio when we had the convenient MD come in, I'm
Yeah.
listening to WRKO and all of a sudden I'm being bombarded by, convenient MD and Plastow. And I'm like, it was a good experience in the sense that you're hearing something about the town. It has regional reach and it's positive, as opposed to, Eagle Tribune. Yeah.
Just had
Little
a-
steps along the way. We can do a ribbon cutting for anything. It can be the plaza that you're talking about.
Right.
It can be someone having a milestone anniversary, 5, 10, 15.
When Parkland
one.
Standalone Emergency Department opens, Parkland's another member of
Right.
ours. So
Yeah, we just did a ribbon cutting for Wyndham, New Hampshire, their new fire truck.
Oh,
And they
yeah.
pushed the fire truck back into the garage, and they enjoyed it just as much. But it's great for the town people to see their taxes being spent and people working together. They love to see the police chief, the fire chief, like in Salem, the town planner will come. Anyone that comes, they look at all the pictures to see who's there, because they're seeing that connection between all of the different towns. They see the representatives from Pest End. We don't consider, it is Greater Salem, but we serve 5 towns right now.
How do you get, say there's a lot of property, or pretty much some, up there that way. How do we get the property owners to know that this is what we could do for you if you're willing to sell your land now, and they want to, and they don't know where to go or who to find, so they just grab the first one that comes? How do we let the property owners, that own this property up here, know what could be possible for them?
Do some sort of meet and greet with developers, bankers,
Okay.
different people of different interests.
Realtors.
Realtors. You don't
Yeah.
want to have the same
Realtors,
group in
okay.
there. Our ambassador group that goes out and encourages new members and talks to the current members of our chamber, they're from all different walks in life. So we have someone from the school, we have bankers, we have real estate agents. It's nice to have that wide variety, so you
Right.
can talk to anyone.
And so if we're doing an event, we send out the press releases, we distribute we have a good list of media contacts, print, radio, and HPR is actually going to be coming on to the chamber too. So they'll be covering some more things in this area. And then social media is really a huge reach too. The largest one is Facebook, it's got the largest demographic that's on it. We currently have an event, Yeti Quest, happening right now. So essentially, exhibitors, they paid a few $100s and we delivered a 7-foot Yeti to them. So then now for 3 weeks' time, people can go around and take selfies with the Yetis, post them using the links provided, and they're entered to win a cruise. So we have a member donated the cruise. There's almost 40 different Yeti locations. There's a Google map set up for it. And people have been going around to all of those places just taking that. We have done a paid social media ad for that. We used a geographic area to catch and make sure that we're getting people in the right area. Excuse me. We're 2.5 weeks in, and I think we spent $50 on it, and we're almost at 1,000 people reached via that ad. So that's if you word it correctly and you use the right parameters around it, that's another piece to pull in.
And the Yeti's kind of funny because it is a 7-foot Yeti. I have it in the bank, and people come in. It's like a little scavenger hunt. But again, it's creating that buzz. We were on WMUR. We didn't ask them.
Yeah,
They heard about the buzz, and we were on it the other day. I got a text. You're on WMUR, and I got all my friends.
Yes, that's
texting.
us.
Yes.
So sometimes it's economic and we're serious, but we keep it fun too, and that's what engages people as well.
And that's getting people that might stick to one town traditionally going to all of the different areas. Because if you think about, we're in the mood to try something different. I wonder if there's any good Thai places around. You're not asking a friend, or you maybe are posting in a group on Facebook, but typically you're pulling out Google and you're typing in Thai food near me, and you're seeing how many miles it is to the closest one with a good amount of stars. So people are looking less specifically by their town and more of just what's close. North Salem is a stone's throw from Plastow. A ton of people will come into Plastow to do business, as well as many other towns. So really, you kind of got all directions that you can broadcast to.
This is kind of, I'll throw this out at Jen, before I joined the planning board, and I didn't understand really how land use stuff worked. And I think most people in the community feel this way, right? They say, why is a type of business, why is this business going in, why is that business going in, and why another one of these businesses, right? And I said, this isn't like American Idol where we just pick and choose who we like and who we don't. But I would like to know what tools that we can use as a board, and again, beyond the master plan, but specifically to us, to keep certain types of businesses from taking up that next vacant storefront, and have it be that type of business that, oh yeah, that's the one I can't wait to use, whether it's entertainment or dining or things like that people on the survey said we want to see more of. But no, we end up getting the A's, the B's, and the C's types of businesses because they love this border town. They love the tax breaks that we offer. They love the vehicle trips that 125 has.
So in order to get what you want, your zoning has to allow what you want and not allow what you don't want, or not allow the things about the things that you don't want. We get a lot of no town wants any more self-storage. There are so many self-storage places. I hear it from every single small town. Let's just ban it. Well, a lot of towns aren't really willing to do that because they feel like it's someone's right to be able to if they are in a commercial zone. It's a fairly benign business from like a land use standpoint.
Sure.
Sometimes they're a little ugly. So there are some towns that have then put in, all right, you can have self-storage, but it can't be facing the street front. You got to have something else in front. That could be like a small business front. It could be offices. You can have self-storage, but it's got to be at the back. So you're still allowing the use. Maybe you have 50 used car sales places in town. Well, you can put some parameters in there that still allow for it, but maybe keep it a little bit more tame so that not every lot is going to be a used car sales, tire place. So you have to plan for what you want. And if you're not getting that, then you need to tweak it.
Yeah, we've seen evolution of what's really popular in Plastow. It was used cars for a while. It's tire stores, and there's a lot of auto mechanics here. But then again, these aren't Amazon businesses. You can't get your auto fix on Amazon. You could get tires online, but most people don't, right? And so then there's some small businesses that people are like, oh, they're really endeared. I love this business, right? And Larry's is a good example. People were happy to see Larry's come back from a nostalgia standpoint, but I don't see that place that busy. And, so that's the tough thing, right? How do we get the businesses that people like to stay and do well in the community? That's kind of one of these open-ended questions. Yeah, Karen.
Well, some of the vacancies right now, what's going to happen to Bed and Bath when that one goes? That's a big one.
Biggest tire store
Why couldn't that be?
in the town.
Why couldn't that be entertainment?
Because your zoning, I'm not as familiar with your zoning because I haven't had to, but does anything in your zoning prohibit it going from a retail to an entertainment?
No, I don't know.
I don't think so in C1.
As long as they have the parking, as long as they have the building side, as long as they meet the requirements, anything could go in there with that size if that's what they need and can use.
So Bed Bath & Beyond is closing, and I'm not sure if you're aware of that. That's going to be
And there's an additional space next to it that's
Right.
also empty
Right.
between Bed and Bath and Staples.
And stable.
Okay.
So it's a little bit bigger than just Bed and Bath.
I wonder what
That
the
is definitely something that could be good for entertainment. And the
wonder what the
parking.
utility services are, though, right? Because they, like, to your point earlier, is it what's their heat? Is it electric? Is it oil? Is it gas? I don't know. Anybody know that?
Drainage, they likely have a massive system under that parking lot because I have a friend that works on those.
Okay, and then
So that part's probably covered already.
Right. I was
and then
gonna say that
they only
wall.
have a small employee bathroom, so they probably have some sort of small septic, offering, right, or whatever.
Everybody has some.
It's probably
Typically, a
something-
plaza
the
with
whole
something that
plaza.
size, it's already built up
Yeah.
because of the
It's
fact that
already
the
in the
Home
plaza.
Depot and the Walmart are there. It's likely plaza-wide
Yeah.
support.
So the question is, would a restaurant, if I mean, that's a huge spot for a restaurant, but I'm just saying, like, with dining.
Anything like that,
Yeah.
restaurant, it could be for entertainment, yeah.
Hobby Lobby.
Virtual
But-
golf places are huge right now too, in addition to axe throwing.
I went to that game time the other day in Amesbury. The place is redone pretty well. It was fun.
Laser tag would work well in there.
I think
But
it's also being, proactive in going after certain things.
yeah,
Marketing, going out and, I mean, there's lists and there's, if there's an industry or several industry types, there's a way of contacting them and actually getting a conversation going with, specific ones that you're finding that the community wants or needs. And it kind of has to be proactive on the town. I mean, we would be happy to go out there and see what's out there, what industries might be, interested in coming in.
Bill, I'm going to throw this.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw this at everybody because see if anybody knows. Does the town keep any sort of record of retail space? I mean, I know it's not the town's role, but
It would in your assessing to a degree.
okay, good point.
Yeah. We have seen some of the other small towns that we work with that have essentially just like a link on their website or a list on their website to, and it could just be to the commercial real estate website, which has available properties and sites in town. Just so in case somebody is starting with, oh, I want to check out Plastow, just having a link of here's how you see what's currently available in town. So it's just one little extra step, but they've shared there's been some success from that from.
Yeah, I mean, you can find, I mean, on these list services that I deal with all the time, you can, determine what these are. You get the contact information between address, the name, the telephone number, of a type of industry you want to do within a certain radius that might be, Tupelo might be interested in having another facility here or another, types of thing that wants to come in for, a smaller venue type of thing. Because there's nothing over here. There is nothing over in this area for entertainment particularly.
Right.
So, I bet that's easy to find out and to start to get, the ball rolling.
The other thing that we tried to do with the chamber in the past 2 years since COVID is to connect the new businesses, especially to the community events. So whether it be Coffee with a Cop, National Night Out, any type of school event, and a lot of the businesses coming in, whether they be local or the big box, they know they need to make an impact in the community to do some form of giving back, whether it's through donations or volunteer time. And connecting the two together has worked really well for us. So for National Night Out with the police department, 99% of the vendors that attend that night are chamber members. Because we reach out to them, give them the date, the parameters, and it's really their volunteer time. That's all they're looking for. And then they feel they're more of a pact. So asking the new chamber member or the seasoned one, what are their interests? Where do they like to give their time or their money? And helping them with it. And we've seen a great connection between everybody from that.
I think one thing that we could use, I mean, we get, for single events, I think we get pretty good coverage from the Eagle Tribune and Carriagetown News. But you can't, nobody's going to take clip out the articles of Plastow and put them in a notebook and for future reference. So I think, I've seen newspaper inserts, usually for Newbury Report. What's going on in Newbury Report in 2023? If we had something like that, what's going on in Plastow for 2023? I mean, we must have 40 or 50 annual events that occur every time, and there's some single ones. But if you put all those together, you get some sense of what our community is doing. And, maybe if businesses look at something like that, they say, gee, our employees would like to live in and around Plastow. We'd like to put a business there.
Well, one of the things that we've been doing has been through the Carriagetown News, it's called the North Shore Media Group. And what it is it's called a Spada. And you probably seen them. It's an extra piece that comes wraps around on the Carriagetown News. You're selling businesses. The businesses are like 129 in the front and for 3x5 and 99 on the back. But the big thing on the Spada, and we can do this through PACE, is we would list any events, that we have a full page that they give us on these when we do these Spadas. And we list whatever the event is, or if you have events that you want to list, you would just have to give us all the data, and then we can put it in and get, them to post this. I mean, we have one actually coming up. There's an availability in March 20, at the very end of March. So you could list events that are happening in Plaistow, and you have a whole page of events that you want to and there's already so many people that are advertising, and that our members advertise in through, and it works. I mean, that's how we've gained, a lot of times we've gained 5 people a month, for membership, but it works. So it's something to consider, and just give me, contact me. I can start to get the ball rolling on it. But we can definitely do that for the town of Plaistow. We can,
Almost
do
like
it.
a community calendar. Is that what you're thinking about?
Well,
Ted?
whatever
yeah,
you're
that's
finding
what-
you want to do, but you have a full page. It's black and white, but it's a full
Yeah.
page in the middle of Carriagetown News, which hits 30,000 people.
Yeah, I mean,
That would bring in people all around the area.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, I was thinking along those lines, but thinking more of an insert that maybe we give the library 100 copies. So, after you read it once on, in that edition of a particular newspaper, then it goes in the trash more than likely. And it doesn't, we have pretty good success, I think, with putting stuff at the library, at the Y. There's a few places where, we can disseminate information. And if it was, covered kind of a whole year's worth of these annual events, you get a sense for what's going on. And
Well, I could, yeah, I mean, just give me, I mean, we work with CAB at the Plaistow Library quite a bit.
Yeah.
So we can help you anyway that way.
Who would draft that up, and who would pay for it? I guess.
I mean, there's always money to be had somewhere.
That's why you get the businesses involved.
Yeah, you get a couple
Ads in
businesses
there,
to put
and
an ad on the bottom, and they
And
cover the
sponsor it.
cost for it.
The big problem is who. I mean, we don't have enough staff to do the work we have already.
They do it all. You just give us what you just, we just pass on the, what they need. They'll set up the ad for you.
It's the ownership group of the Eagle Tribune and the Carriagetown News.
It is
Sellers.
part
They
of
have a
them.
full printing publishing team.
Yeah,
So we would say like, all right, rec department, what are your dates, right? What do you got going on? What are your dates? When's Old Home Day? Lions Club, what do you got going on?
Yeah,
And we
I mean,
would
everything
just
could be listed.
dump it out, and someone would.
Yeah, whatever.
Yep, they go out and they sell the ads for it.
Yeah, and they do it regularly. They do it, I think, almost twice a month now. So it's not something you just a one
For the
shot
insert,
done deal.
But that's
It-
for just the insert twice a month, or is it a book?
No, it's not like your book.
Yeah,
It is,
it's just
but
the
it's but it's twice a
They
month,
had to morph their
and you
business
have a full page ad.
off of paper. So
Huh?
I said they had to morph their business since papers are getting smaller. So it's one of
Yeah.
the ways that they've adapted their business.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's
Increase
becoming
that.
more successful. They're doing other ads of just, sticky notes and all kinds of different
I
things.
see the books. I have a camp up north, and they have books like those, like Northwoods have those.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Right.
They have those a
Mhm.
lot,
And
it's
they-
the whole year of what you could go to. And you're right. I do keep it, and I put it in my camp, and we reference it to see
Right.
what's going on that weekend.
And
So
they're more than happy
it's
though.
not a bad idea because they do it a lot of towns.
They do.
I think to kind of bring it all back to what we're looking to do, how do we engage each other to actually put some things in action? So that's what's good. It's going to come down to putting the pen to paper and saying, this is what we're going to do. Who's going to own that? Who's going to make that happen? But ultimately, again, to everybody's point, is how do we engage the types of businesses that the people in town want to see, and then how do we then make those businesses successful? And some of this is community engagement and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think that's this brainstorming, leading us down paths on certain things.
Another, like when you said that the small malls were very popular right now, or by getting all these different little businesses in, why can't we look at that as a start? How do we find what would go into a little small mall that we could start with? Finding the land up here and then starting with that. How do we do this?
Most of the small malls in the area are owned by a handful of developers that are looking for new sites to develop them that have a lot of relationships in the area. So it would probably be starting there is, that meet greet, that connection piece, pulling in those developers to say, we're looking for something like this. Here are some properties that could work. Have you considered Plastow for your next project?
That way you get your bake shop, you get your little mom and pop, you get the little.
Right, if
little
they want to
train.
come here.
Because
Right.
most of them have been doing it for 30 years or so. So they have their model that they like, and then they have their avenues that they advertise for tenants. So they're the property
Okay.
owner, and then
Yep.
they'll advertise for different types of tenants that they're looking for as they build out the space.
Jen, as part of the housing grant, we're going to look at land availability, essentially what's available, and
You have a build out as part of
a
that
build
grant.
out. Yeah. Could we even get that on a commercial level? I mean, at this point, I'm trying to think about how we would know what we could, if a developer walked in and I met him in a store, hey, do you have any spots that I can build a mini mall?
So with a build out, it's not a crystal ball, but you can ask it a couple of questions. Like if we allowed for some denser development than we currently do now, what could go in, say, without a road being built? Like, is there opportunity to divide or build more intently on that 3-acre parcel? Is there an opportunity there? And that we can do that kind of thing, residential or commercial. It doesn't really matter in that regard. It's just how dense are you allowing it to be given the various parameters?
Yeah. Did our C3, trying to remember what some of the parameters were in our C3 zoning, with that, we essentially made that conducive for the smaller stores, correct?
We did it purposely, right?
And that's where something like that too. I mentioned our economic development committee. We have engineers on our economic development committee. That's something that could be posed to them as a question of, that's where a lot of the companies that are looking to give back to the community, one might be willing to come in and say, we'll take a look, we'll give you a high level list just from their perspective of what options are, or if there's that initial density doing it. So that's where kind of pulling the different pieces together come into it.
What do you need from us so that we stay, so that we partner up more strategically, and then put things on paper and stuff like that? And then after that, what kind of information would you ask of us to provide to you so that you could then potentially bring that to members, and so they'd have a better understanding of Plastow?
So I think, Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think all that we technically need is just if the town would like to join as a member, we offer complimentary memberships to the towns. So we just need to know, yes, formally, and we can do that. We have a board meeting coming up next week, but I know that we talked about it last month already, and I think the board is supportive of working together. So that's sort of the formality piece of it, is we need some contact names to put in, who's the primary contact, mailing address, those elements. And then I think there'd be an opportunity to do something, maybe even a ribbon cutting here at town hall, to just formally announce, and have Pace on it too, just to formally announce kind of working within the town, because I think that in itself could start bringing some buzz. And then we could sit down, and I would say definitely have somebody from the planning board join the economic development committee for the chamber, because I think that's a really great piece to start bringing together some of those conversations.
Bill, what's your thoughts? Would there need to be some sort of formal process?
I don't think it would take much. Like, it's just a matter of bringing it up, get a consensus and that's it.
Is that something that you would bring to the board?
I can do
Bill's our ex officio from the Board of
Select
Selectmen.
Okay.
representative.
do it Monday night.
Okay.
Oh,
Monday.
yeah.
And then, is there any official, like we would need to get some sort of approval from the town manager or anything like that? Or Board of Selectmen need to just write we approve,
I think once we approve, right? But then you'd have to figure out who do you want to be the liaison so I can bring that.
And we don't have a limit on number of people. So for us, it's more of just who's getting our email updates. It can be one person, it can be 20 people.
So that's what we need to know.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think right now we've got this comes through D and planning, and which circuit riders, which ends, through the RPC and then back out to the board. So unless we think otherwise,
I don't know if we'd want to add anything more to Dee's plate.
I know.
Agree.
That's a busy plate.
I get it. That's
That's a busy
why. That's
plate.
why
I
I
think-
mentioned.
If we could maybe get someone here to kind of,
Right, involve the planning board.
You?
right, that's what I think you'd want to do.
Yeah, Karen said she would.
Both of us will do it. You do it too?
Sure.
See?
Okay.
And we talked
Drafted.
about scheduling a ribbon cutting, who you want involved for pictures
Yeah.
from the town, if there's anybody else.
We recommend having the chiefs from the departments because people
Yes.
always like pictures with uniforms in them. It attracts more clicks.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised with social media how far it goes. Usually, most of the town groups I belong to for the chamber, and I will post every Monday. That seems to be the day you can post businesses. So that's the day I post the ribbon cuttings to the other towns. And we average anywhere from 5,000 to maybe 20,000 of people that follow our posts for just the ribbon cuttings. It's amazing to see what people want to see who's there, and Ashley is correct. They like to see the chiefs, and they like to see the town manager because they're showing the unity between the planning board, the town manager, and the chiefs. That makes the taxpayers feel very happy. Then the businesses see it and they say, "Oh, we want to know what you're up to."
The business person that's been trying to get a hold of somebody, they'll see that coming up and then they'll come to the event because they've been trying to connect with whomever it is in town. So then they'll come to get a chance to meet that person. So
We'll have to get the Yeti here too, as well, right?
Yes.
We do have a Yeti.
we
and
have a real
and that was
Yeti.
on WMUR with was it the state police on
Yes,
there?
yeah, the state
They-
police.
We actually have he's 6'4".
Yes, he's 6'4".
One of our chamber ambassadors and board members actually is 6'4", so we have a Yeti costume, and
No.
he does appearances as the Yeti.
That's crazy.
Don't look at me.
Does he see one?
Bill, you're about 6 something, right?
I'm 6'4".
There you are.
Well, he's competing with one of our police officers that's 6'6", so he wants to have his pictures retaken with that police officer so he can be taller. But I did take him to a local dermatologist today, and he did a fur cancer check instead of a skin cancer check.
There you go.
And people love it. The goal is next year, hopefully, to make sure we're bringing a Yeti, right, into the
Yes.
libraries of the towns.
Our
So
plan
more
is
picture.
to offer a free one to each of the town libraries
Oh, nice.
for next year to
So-
just drive people out.
cool.
A cardboard one, not a free
Yeah.
library. Scare the kids.
But it's a nice way of connecting. Everyone can take a picture. They can be entered to win the contest. Once a week, we draw names, and they win a Yeti stuffed animal and a Yeti mug.
And our hope is to get them to look at the map and visit other businesses. I know I had customers coming in my bank that I'd never seen before. They weren't customers, hopefully they're future customers, but coming in and taking a selfie with the Yeti, I'd talk to them and they'd go. But it's bringing people to the businesses and seeing what's in your town.
Just out of curiosity, for all the viewers watching, where do you find the information on the Yeti? Is it on the
We have a QR code.
Greater?
Ashley can see
So
that.
you could go, it's either gschamber.com, which is our website, so you can get it through there, or if you're on Facebook, search, you can either pull up our Facebook page, which is Greater Salem Chamber of Commerce, and find the event through there, or if you search the events on Facebook, it's Yeti Quest 2023. And there's an event page on there. There's a link to the maps on our website as well.
Each
So-
Yeti has a QR code, which brings you there.
Oh,
You can post your selfie and it has the map. So it's like a little scavenger hunt. You just-
Yeah,
where
so
am
you
I
can
going
enter
next?
as many times a day as you want, as long as you use the eligible ways to enter. And the nice thing is, if you're very camera shy, you can get a basic entry without uploading your picture. Just physically doing it will enter you as soon as you
Yeti
scan
stalker.
the
Yes.
code. Yes. And then you can do that through Friday night, and then we'll draw the winner for the cruise next week.
Yeah,
Oh, is it next week?
Yes.
Next week we have a Blizzard Bash, and the sponsor of the platinum sponsor of the Yeti will draw the name.
Nice.
Yes.
And everyone that's done a Yeti in their business is invited to the Blizzard Bash, so they can be there, be part of it.
And we'll I think we might go live to announce the winner of the cruise. So
Now, just extending it, in terms of Plastow being affiliated or associated with PACE or Greater Chamber of Commerce or both. What about the individual businesses? I mean, is that something? I mean, how do they? Do they just like, this is a great idea, we want to get on board?
So the memberships, at least for the Chamber of Commerce, they're different prices depending on the style of business and then the size of the business. So nonprofits have a less expensive pricing structure. So that's either $199 or $299 based on the size of the nonprofit number of employees. And then for a traditional business, it starts at, remind me what the lowest level is now? $375. We just updated the number, so they don't stick in my head yet. And then the highest one is up to $1,000 for the year. But that $1,000 for the year is something that's over 100 employees. So most of the businesses that are in this area are looking at the $500 a year or less. And we do offer payment plan options too.
And they would engage you, or
They
so
would reach Cindy.
okay.
That same contact information, there's actually a form you can fill out right on there that'll come to us, or you can send us a message on Facebook too. We see that pretty regularly as well.
But a lot of it is word of mouth and creating that buzz, and that's when
Right.
they're like, oh, I want to be a part of this, and I see Peston out there, and I want to be a part of that. So it really snowballs.
So it's just a matter of, let's say, getting the word out that Plastow is now a member of
Correct.
these organizations, and
Yes.
then
And
Right.
we would try to,
Okay.
bring events. Like we had a music bingo the other night, and I know I was saying to the girls, I'm like, boy, I think Saddle Up Saloon would be a great place for music bingo. They have the opportunity, they have the great space. So it's bringing some of those events here too to create that buzz and get the people and get the crowd. Because to our point, they'll come. If we have an event, they come. They like the networking piece. I've got a lot of business out of it myself. I'm in sales. That's where I get my business, is networking and getting out there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And by connecting all of the other businesses, like I said, we do the coffee with the cop. We're doing cones with the cop. We try to do any type of, community networking event possible, but also to do those ribbon cuttings. They have a special 35th anniversary. Let's go out and do a ribbon cutting. They've redesigned their building. They've brought in new equipment that's going to make their business dramatically more efficient. We'll be there for you. We'll take pictures.
fire truck we're going to be
We'll promote
getting.
it.
Oh, yeah, the
Right?
fire truck.
Fire trucks.
Well, that's
When
what
is
I was
the
gonna
fire
say.
truck
There
showing
was, I believe, I don't remember which section it was
About
in,
a
but
year
there was some
away.
federal funding put out in the past couple years to help replace outdated fire equipment. So all the fire departments in the area are replacing their equipment because there was some federal money made available. So that's where we've started the tour now for.
Well, they
Do you,
said
do you survey your members on a regular basis for information and things like that? I was just kind of curious. It was almost like it would have been interesting to have a little bit different survey than what we sent to our residents, which was open to business owners as well, but we know it was primarily residents. But it would have been interesting to see what the perspectives of business owners were, and maybe how they differ, or even just questions that were specific. What do you need from the town to help you be a successful business and stuff like that?
we have not done an official survey in 2 years, especially with the COVID change. And I came on board about 2.5 years ago. So since then, we have a very large ambassador group. And I can tell you anything about any member that we've brought on board in the last 250 that we've brought on board. I know them all very well. Because I make sure I get that information when they start. They're going to hear from me. I'm going to email them dates. I'm going to check in with them. Ashley knows. I follow up.
I've only been at this chamber for 6 months, but I'm very familiar with the chamber from before I was staff. So.
And we stick to it, and our ambassadors do reach out and talk to our members. So they're never going to feel like they're walking into an event alone. They can always bring a guest to anything. We want them to be comfortable, and we want them to connect with one another. I was thinking about doing another survey, but sometimes you just don't hear a lot back. I like to engage, talk, touch, whatever way they want to know
Yeah.
about it.
We will do
Email.
one at some point this year because we are in the midst of a branding update ourselves. So we'll have some new color, new colors, new logo, that idea too. So I think that we'll be able to kind of use that as a splash too, to just say, we really are regional, and then to highlight too, encompassing Plastow as a town. So where our logo has well loved, but from quite a number of years ago. So it was time for a fresh look.
So one of the things that was going through my head was I asked earlier if anybody knew that we had done the overlay, but in the few years that I've been on the board, we throw a lot of zoning amendments out. We have a whole separate discussion. We have like 20 or something at this coming up on this ballot. Really, there's only one or two that are kind of driven by us wanting to affect zoning in a way that would be positive, or what we believe is more positive. So we have an industrial zone that's up near Kingston, and we put in some new uses, allowable uses, and we got rid of distribution center. Wholesale logistics distribution center is an allowable use. However, there is a 301,000 square foot
That's the reason we put it in.
distribution center going in, and it's not, to my understanding, it's not currently, at the time there was no tenant that was identified, so they were just going to build it to suit and then attract tenants. They may have done that already. Other than that, I kind of reached out to the board. A couple years ago, we had C1 that was 125 all the way up to Kingston, and it was like what was good for if you could find it, you could put a Home Depot up near Kingston, right? And so that's when we put in C3, which was a light version of commercial. It effectively brought sizes down. The types of uses were more restrictive. Basically saying, let's keep this more in character with the smaller community versus the 125 that we all know that is jam-packed with cars on Saturdays and Sundays. We did the overlay. Tim authored that one. That was to promote, because at that point there was no residential uses allowed in commercial. So now the overlay, Tim, do you remember where exactly it was? It was
We also had the overlay.
It could be overlaid on any area of the C1.
Okay.
That's why I call it an overlay as opposed to a specific geographic location.
Okay.
But the idea behind it was to have smaller shops, wide sidewalks, so the shops could expand, have lunch on the sidewalk, and more of a cafe thing, a one-way street down, only allowing postal deliveries or FedEx deliveries. Then residential uses on the second floor. Then on the ends of it, you could do just residential or a little bit larger retail. So that was the concept, but the worm's been dangling in the water for a couple of years with no bites. So I don't know if
Sheer
people are not
curiosity.
aware of it, or if there's not enough. If the zoning is not properly sized, the overlay district not properly sized, or for C1, it's pretty much all developed. So this would have to be more of a redevelopment, except for one area the Market Basket owns. I think the rest is pretty much bought up.
The old
So,
drive-in you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So Tractor past
Yeah, I was
Tractor
gonna say-
Supply. There's that
Drive-in
mystery
movies.
parcel.
That the rumors have been flying that a fancy Market Basket is coming in there for the past 5 years.
Love that. Yeah.
Been a while, that rumor.
Been hearing that since I moved in 20 years ago.
But Market Basket in particular they typically own their buildings that they're in and their newer ones, and some of their newer projects, like the one that's in Tuscan Village, has some other smaller tenant space at the end of the building, and those wider sidewalks and all of that. So they have a few different models of their market now, different levels that they'll build. So some of the ones with the larger cafes and things like that, they'll put a different setup to that.
Yeah. It makes me think of that Kohl's and Market Basket and, that's huge parking lots.
Yep.
Nice big parcel of land, probably the most polluted water this side of the Mississippi, right? That little pond. I saw geese in it the other day. But anyways, so let's just say Market Basket moved and Kohl's, whatever, it changed or something. That would be a huge plot of land that I would love to see get redeveloped into a mixed use type of parcel. So, but yeah,
Kohl's just got accepted to stay because they put in Sephora. So all the
Yeah.
Kohl's that did that, they redid the store and everything, and that's why at Kohl's, I don't think
Kohl's is struggling. Yeah, that was kind of a hope.
They're not struggling now with the Sephora in it.
Well, you could tear down part of a building and just put a finish wall on it.
Yeah, I don't know if Sephora is going to be their savior, but it staves off the more imminent.
Was that big?
No.
Yeah, it's that and the Amazon returns. You can do an
Yes.
Amazon
True.
return at Kohl's, and then you get a coupon.
Yeah.
I have young children. I make a regular practice of that.
My wife was in there the other day, and some guy, an older gentleman, walked by, and he was all confused, and he looked at my wife and somehow thought she would know, and he goes, "I thought I was in Kohl's. What's this?" And she goes, "Oh, this." He still didn't get it, but no, that's great. Any other comments from the board? Any other comments from the guests? Jen, jump in.
I do have a thought. If you guys become members and do a ribbon cutting type event, that would be a great time to announce things like you're going to be talking about housing, you're going to be talking about economic development with the community's plan. If you have some sort of like a press release or some blurb that gets put out, that would be a great tie-in. I think that would be sort of a win-win for everybody.
We always give time for the host to speak at a ribbon cutting,
Too, yes.
whatever they.
Yeah.
The other question, I don't know if you happen to know. So the Regional Economic Development Commission is another regional entity, and they run the SEDS, which I can't think of what it's abbreviation for, but it ties into the national grant system for economic development. So
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any formal, I sit on the SEDS board, but I'm not sure if there's any formal representation from Plastow. I don't know if you happen to know.
I missed that. What did
overlaps
you-
with
RPC
it.
is part. I'm
You
not
used an
sure.
abbreviation. What did you?
So yes, so the Regional Economic Development Commission is the nonprofit that oversees this region's economic development as far as funneling up into the federal level of it. And they have a specific program. It's SEDS, it's CEDS. I'm just blanking on that's the abbreviation for. But there's federal economic development grants. So essentially you have projects that are priority projects, you put them into the SEDS plan, and then that helps support get federal grant money to have them succeed. And they pull in. So I sit on that advisory board with the group. And so they do take inputs from the specific towns within the area. And it's essentially Nashua up to Portsmouth. So it covers this whole section. And so I don't think if there's somebody specific from Plastow, but that's something that I'm happy to be the in-between person with projects. And then we could certainly, the RPC
Yeah, we
is
also
involved
comment on
too.
it.
Comprehensive economic development system.
Yeah. Thank you.
There you go.
Yes, but so there's been, so for instance, like, okay, expanding the water line is an initiative or an idea. So getting some of those parameters put in place, then you get that proposal into the plan. It's published every year, but then also it helps drive for a grant application for federal funding. So on the seacoast, they've used it to repair sections of the seawall. It might be expanding or fixing traffic light sections if you need the lights retimed, if you need sidewalks put in. It could be any numbers of those things.
To that point, just in terms of if and not putting sidewalks everywhere, if we needed to strategically place a sidewalk, and I'm thinking along, with the high schoolers or something like that.
Yeah.
Just because, watching the kids walk in the snow or in the mud, rain or whatever on the side.
Mhm.
But, you don't need sidewalks everywhere in town, but you would need one that goes along that area that at least goes past the school so that when they get off and they can walk and not get run over.
That's the type of project that could go in something. So by the time a project goes in, it has some initial planning done. It has some from A to B or this specific plot of land or whatever the style of project is, but it's put in with specific parameters
Mhm.
around what it would be. So even if it's okay, there's 5 phases of sidewalk we want, and this is phase 1 for this section, and then down from there.
Excellent.
There's also some other grants for like getting some of those planning phases that run through my office as well. I don't recall if Plastow has done, excuse me, a Safe Routes to School project.
We did.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
We did.
But again, and then not end up with a sidewalk that keeps the kids out of the road is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's look what was studied.
Yeah.
Other than like that's a
It
really
would've
bad
That
road.
would have just been a planning exercise. It wouldn't have been an actual infrastructure building, but I'm sure as part of that, if there was a section that needed sidewalks that was likely identified,
Mhm.
that can help elevate trying to get funding to put in sidewalks. And I don't know if offhand if your high school is on a state route or not.
Is that?
Um,
Is that-
No.
Is it not?
That is
Okay.
not. No, it's not a state road.
Greeno.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if Greeno Road is
Line
maintained by the state or Plastow.
That is-
No.
Yeah.
Like
I don't think
Main
it's
Street.
road.
No, but
So-
it does connect to a state road, so it
Yes,
might be
connects to a state
close
It-
enough.
So
Yeah.
the reason I bring that up is that you can often get state funding for putting in sidewalks. The catch is that then you have to plow them, so the town would have to be
Well, we have a
paying for
brand
the
new,
plowing.
Yeah, we have-
So-
brand new
New
snow
one.
sidewalk or blower, whatever you want to
Have you
call
been
it.
on a Facebook page to see people talking about that thing? Get with it.
The worst time to go on community Facebook pages are after a storm.
Yeah.
Everybody has an opinion.
Yeah.
I say every day.
The water's been a tough topic lately. And businesses, frankly, that, people see some sort of land getting cleared and then, the jokes come out. Oh, is it a self store? I bet it's a tire store. I bet it's a used car lot. And, and then somebody ultimately takes a shot at, the planning board or some, some capacity. But
There is the opportunity to, the school does bus students to the local CTE centers. And so those programs often work with the towns on different proposals. So there is an option too, if there was something coming up to work with. And so we work with the CTE coordinators at the schools. So if there was something specific for student involvement as well. And that takes a big cost factor out of it because they're doing
That's
it
cool.
for the experience, the time. And of course, their teachers are the fully qualified professionals that oversee everything. But I think that's a great opportunity. And I know that there's students that bus over this year. So that's another option too.
all right. Any other thoughts, comments? Good conversation. Yeah.
This was a good meeting.
Yeah.
Got a
Excellent.
lot of
Yeah.
great information.
Yes.
Yeah. As I said, this was kind of, I think, what we envision as a 3-year plan. Economic development and redevelopment, frankly, because kind of what we were saying, we're built out to a large degree, and then housing, and we see that there's a relationship there, and so we're hoping that by the end of this year, we're going to update our master plan as we go, and then B, we're going to potentially introduce amendments and whatnot that help us achieve some of those goals. So. You have a takeaway to discuss with the Board of Selectmen about becoming members.
They'll do it Monday night. We meet
Okay.
Monday.
Any other to-dos, Jen?
One of the things that when I had spoken with Sarah and the contract here with RPC is to work on updating your economic development aspects of your master plan. I think it would be a really good start for this board in doing that, and for me to helping you with doing that is, especially from tonight's conversation, but also generally, if there are a couple of actions or takeaways or things that you really think need to be identified and steps that need to be identified in your master plan in an implementation section specifically, come back to the next workshop with those. That'll really help me to better identify where in your master plan some of those might fit, where we might need some supporting data, and then maybe grouping them or coming up with sort of broader goals or umbrellas or actions that come underneath. So as a brainstorming, I would love if people would come back with, 1 to 5 things you'd really like to see happen.
I absolutely agree. Yep. So that'll be on our agenda for whatever, right? First week in April.
April.
Really to have what Jen was asking. So we'll need to get our.
Can this include also what we discussed tonight?
Oh, absolutely. I think
Yeah,
that's the whole
okay.
idea. Yeah. What do we find out from the survey? What do we find out from hearing from
Yes.
them?
Right.
Let's create some action out of it. Let's not make it a safe routes to schools and say, okay, there it is, but we're not going to do anything about it. All right. And then Richard and Karen, you have offered to.
Of course he does.
All right, on board.
Well, number
love
one,
it.
I have to get elected now. Don't forget.
It's true.
I might not get reelected.
You are.
That's true. Let's take Karen off this then. Please.
So that's one piece that we do. So actually, we like our Tuesday email next week will include links to the town voting information for any of the towns that we represent. So that way, it just for any of the members, they also live in the communities often. So just as that reminder of show out and vote, because then if you don't vote and something changed or zoned or this or that, and you find out 6 months later, well, you could have gone and voted.
Yeah, we will also post from both our website and on the community page.
Awesome.
We try to remind people about that. If you have an opinion, go share it. This is your avenue to share it.
Right.
Oh no,
Please do
no! It's
so.
much better to just go on Facebook and comments.
Just let it.
Don't vote.
You would
Vote
only
schmo.
have to be a resident of Plastow to be a representative to the Chamber of Commerce, right? I mean, there's no requirement you have to be on the planning board or board of.
No,
Selectmen.
and so where it's the town, so the membership will show up as the town of Plastow. So it could be anybody that works for the town, anybody that's, if they work but don't live in town, but they work in town hall, I think that's fine. If they are on one of the
You don't
boards
care
in
how
town.
many, right? So it could come from other
No.
places too.
Yeah, so I mean, if you have somebody from the library that wants to receive the updates as well.
Okay.
So
Who are you typically engaged with from representatives of the town hall? Like, is it a planning director? Is it the planning board chair? Is it the town manager? Or
yes.
any
In a
of the
sense,
above?
it depends on what the conversation is, what the need is. If it's something that maybe we have an event coming up, we might be dealing with the town clerk if we're trying to exchange some
Okay.
information. If there's more of a specific initiative or a concern or anything like that, it might be the town manager or some of the boards.
So the good thing is we do have the emails. It's like planboardchair@plastow.com. And that is
Yes.
whoever the chair is, because we'll have a new chair, or we'll elect a chair at the next meeting. Is that correct?
Your chair for life, Tom.
After election.
After the election.
When is the election?
14th.
Before the April meeting, so yes.
Exactly. So we could potentially have new members. We could potentially have a new chair. So either way, but that email stays the same. So you can include that email on the communications,
That's great.
and that'll get to us.
Are we able to also?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. No. This isn't a either or. We said, do we want to bring one organization or the other? And I said, no. We're all having the same conversation. We're all here for the greater good.
I mean, we're already part
Yeah.
of it.
And that's, again, for on the PACE side of things, yeah, we'd love to hear the specific feedback from your organization that's
Yeah.
pertinent to
And
Plastow.
we can put out a survey also within our membership.
Yep.
I mean, we're not as large and we're voluntary. We're volunteers. I don't
Sure.
get paid for what I do. Yeah. So, and we're trying to grow, but but we're volunteers. And so we're working on getting more.
Yeah, what I would
mean,
say is that the next engagement that you have with the PACE, members,
right. And
if you can just share what we discussed and say, listen, the planning board's welcoming feedback. We're now opening the doors to, again, the next steps that we want to take,
Okay.
and we want their engagement. So, however you want to share information,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Okay, yeah, I'll, particularly with certain, people out there that are very affected by
Yeah,
Plastow.
yeah. And if you say you're at a meeting, Ashley and Cindy, and you talk to members and say, hey, I know you were looking for a place. Did you ever look at Plastow? And oh yeah, I did, and it was good, but we didn't like this. We'd love to hear that. That's good stuff too. So please share.
Certainly, anyone that wants to sign up under the town of
Yeah, that's good.
Plaistow,
Oh, yeah.
we just.
I
need
think the
email
more, the
address.
more, yeah, the more the better. So it isn't, so you don't have a bottleneck type situation. So.
Yes.
And usually I deal with one person who plans the ribbon cutting.
You give us a primary contact
Contact.
and then as many contacts as you want.
And then whoever you want.
Okay.
We tend to do those, just to let you know, on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday afternoon. We get the biggest bang for our buck at that time, between like 2:30 to 4ish. That seems to be, everyone shows up. And then all of a sudden you'll get the little news media groups will come out because they want to be involved. We don't ask them.
Yeah.
They show up, which is nice. Like MUR doing that, we was shocked.
Yep. They do get our email updates, and
They
then
do.
sometimes we find out after the story's out there. We say, "Oh, good, they did see that one."
But what they follow is they are watching Facebook, because I can see who's up
Yes.
to it.
And their
who's watching it.
reporter
Yeah.
team has significantly decreased in age, I should say, for who's
Yes.
looking for stories.
Thursday afternoon would probably work out well because the town hall closes on Thursday. They're not open Friday. So it's at the end of people's work week. So it wouldn't be disrupting the middle of the day for.
Mm-hmm. And we always recommend, especially if it's for a fire truck or something like that, have cookies. Like, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but
Yeah,
everybody
this-
likes something.
And then, yeah. I
Everybody
just-
likes eating
The
something.
more the merrier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should be getting our new fire truck.
We're a
This
little
year.
ways away for it to come in. It was a little over a year to get
I
it.
didn't realize that.
Yeah, but I mean, that
So I
sounds-
We
think
should
that
do a
we're
fire
probably
truck
looking
event
around the
next year
fall.
where all the towns get to line them up together.
Yeah, that would be. I ordered extra large ribbons because we're doing an addition to one of the fire stations, 2 ambulances, fire truck, because the firemen said that the police get all the attention. They don't get the attention. So I said, well, let's do the new ambulances. That's where that started from.
We got all
Getting
kinds
one
of
of
stuff
those
coming.
too.
Yep.
Yes.
We get one of those.
We got a new ladder truck coming.
That's huge. And then Wyndham did for the first time. They pushed the truck in. That's a
They
tradition.
pushed the truck in.
Into the barn. I didn't know that was a whole thing. If you look back at the history.
They realized they had to help
really
it over
tried
the curb.
to push it in. They were all. It was pretty sad. They were all going to fall down for a few minutes.
Well, they didn't realize that they have a dip right before into the garage.
I was going to say, you want to make sure it's downhill.
But it was really nice to see.
It's like carrying the bride over the threshold kind of thing.
And the fire chief
Yeah.
introduced all of the firefighters that were involved with ordering the truck and what they got. So it was nice to see that whole connection between the department itself, the town manager, planners, everyone came out, HR director. So you see that unity, and the taxpayers see the unity, which is really important too.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
So we do have some of the written info that Cindy put together. I'm thinking we'll give that to Bill so you're prepared for Monday night
Okay.
in case anybody asks specific
All right.
questions.
Yeah, if you have anything
Something to
else,
grab on.
any specific to Pace or specific to Greater Salem, feel free to forward that. Again, we'll start with myself, Richard, and Karen. We'll probably need to loop in Dee at some point, even if she's just CC'd on some stuff. And then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, so a lot of stuff can be pushed out onto the the town's website or its
Sure.
Facebook page and things like that.
And
So,
we're happy to stop by during the day too to check in with the town staff. So if it's something that it's easier for us to pop by when they're here already, we're happy to do.
And then Jen, you're kind of a de facto, right? With that, your role is not just I don't know.
So my role is primarily with when you have applications, helping with the master plan, but I can certainly, help with some of this or like see how it might fit in with the work the
Yeah.
planning board is doing.
Okay.
And if I think there's an avenue of the housing work that might be going on or that sort of thing.
I know Sarah did, get a decent amount of the legwork. So I just don't know exactly what the setup was.
Yeah, it kind of depends on the task, to be
Okay.
honest.
Got
But
it.
it's okay
Makes
because we
sense.
talk to the RPC too anyways in general. So
Yeah.
even if it needs
Perfect.
to come from a separate avenue, we can
Perfect.
work on that.
Great. All right.
We'll end up seeing each other at regional events all the time. It's like, I've met you before. I just lost track of where. So,
Mary, I think you've been in here before, right? Was it the Rock Church run or something? I was like, I knew I.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm involved in a lot.
Yeah.
So, I'm involved in a lot of nonprofits. I volunteer a lot.
Awesome. Good. Good. I'm surprised I remembered that.
It's small town New Hampshire. Nobody ever really goes far.
Yes,
True.
that's true.
Hey, New Hampshire's supposed to be the most giving state, one of the most giving states in the country. In time and money and
Money.
and I believe
Property
it.
taxes, right?
That's true.
That's where it is.
That's awesome.
Yes.
All right. Any last parting thoughts?
No, just thank you very,
Oh.
very
Yeah,
much.
thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, all of you.
When's Pace's next meeting?
It is on
15th morning?
huh?
Is it the 15th?
On the 15th at the Atkinson Community Center at 8:30 to 10. So if you'd like to come,
I
you're
just
welcome.
saw the email today.
There you go. And you're welcome to speak
So that's
about,
how we get
whatever you'd like if you come.
What time is it at?
8:30 to 10.
I'm not-
So that's a Wednesday.
Yeah, but we've got a meeting that.
Yeah. I think I noticed that there was going to be some potential conflicts.
Okay.
We meet the first and third Wednesday of every month.
It's in the morning.
It's in
Yeah.
the morning.
Oh, it is. Okay.
It's 8:30 to 10 in the morning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank
We
you
alternate from morning and then
Very
after
much.
hours.
Really appreciate it.
So,
Thank you.
and if you want to know about the SPADA, I can give you the help you that so set up for that big ad.
Okay.
And where was it again?
I
Sorry.
can, I'll drop it off at
At the Atkinson
the
Community
main
Center.
office.
Tim, is that something you're thinking about?
I'll show you what it'd be in. It's-
I'll try.
Possibility? Okay.
and we can get some of our, I can get our membership to do the sales part, to do the, to put in ads, and they'll fill in if we don't fill everything in. Because State Line does theirs, and there's a whole bunch of Plaistow. But then just fill in with your, what you want for Plaistow. Okay,
Great.
awesome.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. All right. Um, I think the question is what will be the tenor of engagement, right? How we all.
They will continue.
Tim, in the past, when we're members of the Greater Haverhill Chamber of Commerce, is that correct? But we haven't engaged with them in probably a decade. Is that what you said?
It's a long time.
Seems like there's some energy with this group.
It does, and it also sounds like there's some pretty good resources there, and that's what I was mostly interested in. I'd love to hear about, what types of businesses are looking for. I'm sure they're going to have some data on these businesses are fleeing brick and mortar. These businesses are seeking brick and mortar.
And we have more in common with these type of towns.
We do, yes. Although I think there's actually more New Hampshire towns that were listed as part of the Haverhill Chamber of Commerce than there were Mass towns, which was struck me as kind of odd.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're focused on Haverhill, which
Right.
big city.
There's been a lot of rebuilding on that main street.
They have.
They have changed that. It's really a lot better than what I remember it.
Sure.
It has. It's rebounded quite a bit.
That has
It really
rebounded
has.
Quite a bit. And
They
you
have.
notice what a lot of them are, restaurants.
Yeah. There are a lot of nice restaurants in there now.
There are.
There is.
There are.
They're doing good business.
I guess that's the question, right? We have some breakfast places. We have Larry's, but we have breakfast places, and we have a couple bars, right? Richard's there all the time, I think, right?
That's good.
Is that where you hang out?
I have been to the Crow's Nest. I have been to Grumpy's. I'm not proud of those times, but no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, we don't have well, not even that, but we don't have a Texas Roadhouse or going beyond the chains even. Like,
Larger. So
I know.
That's why we might not be able to do that.
I will say that those types of restaurants certainly do exist on septic. So sewer is not your complete limiting factor.
It's interesting.
And I met the Chick-fil, whatever that thing is, that would be smaller.
Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, Chick-fil-A would be smaller.
Yeah.
The building, actually, than a roadhouse. And it would be able to, I don't think they would require septic. I mean, they would be allowed on septic.
They would certainly have to have a septic. I mean,
Right.
if any of you've been on 108 in Stratham, they have a number of restaurants that have gone in the past few years. There's a 110 Grill, there's a Chipotle's, there's a Starbucks. They do not have sewer. And those are actually in a fairly compact area. Stratham's Gateway District really was meant to get away a little bit from the car sales kind of places and bring in a little bit more of those service type destinations. You know, they've had that for 15 years. I can't say it's been like a screaming success, but over time it has changed it. And they did change their zoning quite a bit to try and like change the scale, change what was allowed. So they were getting more of what they wanted, less of what they didn't, which was a lot of car sales places. And they still have the car sales places, but it's sort of changing over time. They're having like a few medical offices go in. They have a coffee shop they finally wanted. So
yeah, we get Chipotle. We've got what's the Chinese food place in that plaza too?
Kobe, that's actually Haverhill.
No, the other one, the Sushi Time.
I'm there most Friday nights.
Sushi Time's good. It's good stuff.
Now, is that Plaistow or is that Haverhill?
Sushi Time is Plaistow.
It is. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But are they on sewer there in that plaza?
I don't believe so.
I thought one of the
Brand new, too.
I thought one of the plazas there was just across the border, but was getting their sewer.
No,
No,
they're in with
no, he's talking about
the eye
across
doctor
from
and
Yeah.
Papagenos, and
Yep.
Right.
That's
that's not on sewer.
Savers, and it's on the corner.
And then other than that, we've just got breakfast places
No,
and Larry's. A couple
that
couple
is.
bars, right? So the Crow's Nest and Grumpy's serve food, but those are bars.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, good meeting. Yeah, I guess I think our takeaway or our homework for tonight is, like Jen said, is look at the master plan, come up with some ideas around what we got from the survey, what we got from tonight, and think about what we need to put into action, right?
doesn't have to be a complete thought, just an idea at this point.
Good.
There are no bad ideas.
so when will the build out? When will that start?
I need to look to see where you guys are with your housing grant. I don't know if it has been signed. I know you got the contract.
On Monday night, the selectmen, we accepted it.
Okay, all right. So with that, what's going to happen is that RPC will be sending all of the towns sort of a contract that we will be your consultant through that. We're getting those out in the next week or two. So once that has been done, then we can start the build out. I have to go back and look and see at the time frame that you guys had in there because we sort of built it into our schedule. But I think it's not until this spring based on the economic development work you guys wanted to do now. So I want to say like May, June is the time frame we have for it, but I can circle back and let you know.
I think RPC did the last build out.
Right.
Yes.
So that will they use some of that information, like to base it off of, or
Not really. We tend to start from scratch. I mean, some of the information will be the same because like your major bodies of water haven't changed. Most of your wetlands haven't really changed. Your roads haven't changed. So there will be some similarities, but it will be from scratch effectively.
okay?
All right. Any old business? Did anything get passed along to you to introduce this evening?
It didn't, although Dee just wanted to remind people the Puzzle Lane Newton application that I know you guys have been seeing to bring that to your next meeting. One thing that I don't know if Dee is aware of, but there was a hydrogeologic study that the Newton Planning Board required that finally was submitted by that developer. And I know that you wanted your town engineer to also review it. That only came into Newton this past Thursday, so I don't know if it's reached Plaistow yet, but it has been developed. I haven't thoroughly looked at it yet, but it was conducted. So
All right. Are you aware of any applications for our
Next one.
I did not hear anything from Dee that anything else got submitted.
the Puzzle Lane is continued
Puzzle
to
Lane
that
is
date?
continued to the 15th.
All right. So assuming that that's not going to be a large meeting, right? Or a long meeting, I guess I'm assuming, unless any other applications.
There were a couple of
Your deadline has already passed, so.
Yeah, that's true. All right. So we could either hear the application and bolt, or we can use a little bit of the time since we're here. I don't know if there's anything that people want to try to tackle at that point.
You can hear the application.
The what? The application. All right, Karen.
Option
I'm
A.
good. Listen, I'm
Well, I know
game.
I'm gonna have a late night the night before, because the night before is election.
Oh, it is. All right. Okay, we won't put anything else in there then. I'm cool with that. All right, we good? Oh, wait. I just want to mess with Frank a little bit because he's probably watching, hoping we're going to wrap it up. Just kidding, Frank. All right. With that, we will close this meeting at
Wow.
8:26.